might be the best FPS controller this year. This is the Blitz2 by BigBigWon. And we've got the TMR edition just here. So just straight up, they do two versions. They do an Alps potentiometer stick version if you prefer that, or they do TMR Hall sticks, which is obviously a little bit more. But I was actually really surprised by the price of this, and we'll cover that towards the end. And this is extremely specced out, designed for FPS gamers. Keep that in mind. So we've got 2000 hertz polling rate. It's crazy. We will test that a bit later on. We've got 1000 hertz gyro as well. We've got the TMR version, which looks like this. The potentiometer version is blue. It's got 16 mechanical buttons. We've got 4 remappable back paddles, 2 on the back, 2 on the top. We still have rumble as well, and it's got like a unique shape for different grip styles. And inside the box we get this. So this is the actual controller just here. Of course, we'll take a look at that in a moment, but you also get a 2.4 gigahertz dongle. Inside here, we just get an A to C cable, so you can use it wired if you want to. Inside the box, we get some extra bits. So we actually get a more sort of Xbox styling D-pad, and then we get some different stick toppers. You got some extra long ones and then just some spare sort of normal size ones, and they all have metal anti-friction rings around the stems. So that's everything you get inside the box. Let's take a look at the controller. Now, I actually low-key love the design of this controller. I really like the look of it. I don't know why, but I get serious Gundam vibes from it. Like, I think it's the sort of like gray and the sort of off gray kind of color with the pops of orange, and then the colored face buttons, and then just the dash of RGB as well. And that's it. But I really like the look of it. I don't know why. It just looks real sci-fi, like mech-esque with these like little like, you know, accents and decals or whatever on it. And they're actually like, you know, like in the plastic. They're not just on, they're not going to peel off or anything. It says 2000 hertz. They're really proud of that. And to be honest, they should be. You know, it's a 2000 hertz controller, and for the price point, it's amazing. It really, really is. But anyway, yeah, I love the aesthetics of this, but you can see that the shape is kind of odd. It's not like wide out like an Xbox controller. If you took these horns and like broke them out a bit, it would be more like an Xbox controller, but this is way more tucked in. So it really gets your hands on the controller. Like you really feel like you're holding it. And the whole point of this is because they've also designed this for people that are like well into FPS games that do the weird like claw grip. You know, the 6-finger grip. So I play games with my middle fingers like on the back paddles, and then I use my index fingers on the triggers and bumpers. So claw grip's the other way. You've got your index fingers on the bumpers, you've got your middle fingers on the triggers, and then you've got your ring fingers on the back paddles. That's how like a lot of competitive controller people play. So they've got a button under each finger. That's just weird for me. I don't know if it's because I'm old school or something, but that's not how I play. But even for 4-finger style, which is just literally like 2 on the back, and then like how you'd regularly hold a controller, this is really, really comfortable. Like it really is comfortable. It just takes a little bit getting used to having your like hands kind of like gripped in and like really tight, you know, but I like it. I really like it. Now, design wise, we've looked at the color and everything, but we do have rubber, so like TPU rubber, like all the way around the edges. But to be honest, it feels like nice rubber. I can't say whether or not it's going to go sticky and horrible over time, but it feels like high quality rubber, and it definitely grips really nicely in your hands. Like it feels firmly locked in when you're holding it. So big plus point. I actually am going to give the rubber a pass because generally I'm anti-rubber. Like I much prefer just having solid plastic. It's easier to clean. It won't go sticky and everything. But for what I've been using, like with this, I've actually been enjoying that extra bit of grip. It just seems like they've genuinely thought about the shape of this. The only thing I kind of dislike aesthetically is this bit. Now, I don't like the look of it because you've just got extra buttons here, but in use, this is actually really cool because you've got a specific button for each sort of task, essentially, right? So you've got turbo there. So you've got a turbo button. You've got rebind for, you know, the macro back paddles and stuff. Then this one is macro record. And then this is what they call configs, which is basically just profile switching. So whilst I don't like the look of it, I actually like it in use. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of like functional, because otherwise generally you've got to have like a button and you've got to remember like a million different configurations, which is really frustrating, and then you forget them and stuff. Whereas at least with this, you've got specific buttons just there that you can press and know what you're doing. You also have this button, which is a function button, which kind of pairs up with these for a few different combinations so that you can adjust stuff. We'll go over all of this later. You've then got start and select, whatever they're called these days, I never remember. And then you've got the share button there. This is actually a button as well. We've got our mechanical D-pad. We've got our TMR joysticks just there with anti-friction rings. We've got our face buttons just here. We'll go over all of this in detail. We've got our bumpers and our triggers, and then you've got the additional ones on the top as well. We then also have our USB-C connection, the little like Wi-Fi, connection button as well. Then on the back, we've got 2 back paddles. So in total, there's 4. You've got 2 on the top, 2 on the on the back. Then you've got this, which looks like a docking station, charging pin. And it's really sad because I would have loved to have seen a charging station actually in the box. And they didn't give you that, which is kind of sad. And they don't even sell one on the website. So I've looked through the website and I can't see one at all. And it's kind of frustrating because I just wish that it came with it. So now let's have a look and feel of everything. How does it feel? Like, are the buttons any good? Are the sticks nice and smooth? Let's just give it a good old feel. So now I've got my BigBigWon in my hands for you to see, and let's give it a feel, shall we? So the D-pad, right? So the D-pad obviously has 2 different variants, and I'm just gonna say straight off the bat, I don't really like this one. So to get it out, it's kind of difficult. What I like is that they've given you lips on each corner, but you really need to kind of get your fingers in there and give it a proper pull. Like, I made that probably look quite easy, but there was quite a lot of force behind that. It is keyed, so you've got to line it up with the little notch and push until it clicks. And then you've got the big dome one, and I just feel it's a bit more skatey. Some people might like this, but for me, it's too quick at inputting. I prefer traditional D-pads, and getting it out, you again have to really yank it and then line it up with the little notch on the top, press down. That just feels a lot more natural to me. I just prefer the standard one, but at least you've got the option, right? So you've got both inside the box. But if I press down on the D-pad and rock left, with this one, it does not miss input left. If I rock right, I really have to give it some to input right. On my unit, rocking right is easier to actuate the right side than the left. But if I just put like normal pressure, I'm not actuating either side. I really have to push right for it to actuate. But yeah, it's a nice feeling D-pad. It is mechanical, so bear that in mind. It's got that click that you would expect. Let's have a really quick listen. That's the D-pad. Now the face buttons, of course we've got mechanical face buttons, but they do have like a silicone dampener underneath, right? And they feel lovely, like they really do. I love the convex like buttons that follow the curvature of the controller. So they're domed. I really like it. They feel great under your fingers. Really nice texture on the plastic of this whole controller, right? And yeah, they are cushioned mechanical switches and they feel great. There is minor pre-travel, but no post-travel. But honestly, you do not notice. I've got to press really gently to get that pre-travel there, but it's an instantaneous click, really. And the benefits of mechanical switches, which is why they've put them in this entire controller, is they're just much faster to actuate, like so much quicker, and they return much faster, so you can get like a real good spam on that button, right? So you can, press it really fast or press it once and know that it's inputted as absolutely quick as possible. Pair that up with the 2000 hertz polling rate. This thing is an absolute Blitz2. People think I script this stuff. I assure you I don't. I'm just not funny, but there we go. So yeah, the bumpers then, I love these as well. And they show on the website how these are designed, but basically they've got like an archway, like swing arm, right? That goes all the way over to the other side. So this one is hinged right over here so that it can actuate anywhere, and there is no pre or post travel on this thing. Like that is just immediate. Right, so if I really go gently, no, I've still can't really, it just actuates immediately no matter where you press it. And that's kind of important depending on what kind of grip you've got, right? Because they're advocating this 6 grip thing, right? But if you're just doing the 4 grip as well, you might have your fingers right over the here, or you might be on the side or in the middle, right? This thing just actuates all over the place. Like as soon as you touch it, it's just like, boom, wicked, like absolutely top end, love it, right? This one here, the triggers then are exactly the same. And this is where I said, you know, bear in mind this is an FPS controller at the beginning because it only has digital triggers. And I know some people will see that as a downside, but this is marketed just at FPS. And you do not want analog triggers on FPS games. You want to press that button and shoot absolutely immediately without any wasted travel, any wasted effort on those triggers. And this gives you it. It's got mechanical switches on these triggers, and they are so fast at actuating, they really are. And again, no pre-travel, like none. So you just press it and it just actuates immediately and then it bounces right back up. It is wicked, like really, really good digital triggers just there. So I wanna say this is a plus for this controller because it is aimed at FPS players. If you're just a general player and you're looking for an all-rounder controller, you probably don't want digital only triggers, right? You might want analog triggers if you're into racing games. You want to like, you know, feather the throttle and the accelerator and stuff like that. This might not be for you, but again, this is targeting FPS gamers. You've got the extra buttons on the top, and generally companies see these as an afterthought. They're always mushy, they're always spongy, and they're normally like, ugh. Because I personally like remappable buttons. I remap them all the time because I don't like pressing like L3 and R3 and stuff like that. So I always end up remapping those. And depending on the game, I will want 2 more. I like having 4 back paddles or like a couple up here where I can put whatever else that frustrates me up there, right? And these are no different than the rest. Like these are immediate actuation. They are mechanical switches again. So these are not an afterthought. They feel absolutely perfect. I really, really like this. Brilliant. The only thing is they could be a bit of a stretch for some people. So if you're playing with the 6-finger thing, I don't know how you're gonna get there. Like, because you're not gonna be able to reach it. So if you're 6-finger only, these are like kind of redundant because you're probably locked in, right? And not moving your fingers. Now, maybe you've got really big hands. I've got kind of medium hands and I can't really shift to reach those. If I bring my like hands up, so I'm not actually like embedding this in my palm, right? If I kind of shift my whole grip up, then yeah, I can reach it, not a problem. But I'm not a 6-finger guy, right? Like I've only got 4 fingers. On the back then, you've got 2 more. And again, not an afterthought. These are also mechanical switches and they are shaped around the controller so that no matter how you're gripping it, whether you're the 6-finger grip, right, you've got these back paddles underneath your fingers, that 6-finger grip. If I go 4-finger grip, again, it rests really nicely under my middle fingers just here. Really like it. Super fast actuation. Very, very good. I've mainly just been using those ones, if I'm perfectly honest. And now we're on to the joysticks, and they get the buttery smooth award. Like they do. They get the buttery smooth award. They are super, super smooth. So really, really nice. You can spin these around so much and they are so nice. I love the orange accented anti-friction rings around the gates just there. And they've paired them with the anti-friction like metal rings around the stems here. But there is one little tiny downside I've got with this, and they're really loose. Let's see if you can hear this, right? I'm gonna shake the stem. Can you hear that? It's kind of rattling because it's not form fitted. It's just a little bit too big for the actual plastic there. So that metal bit like shifts, and you can see me there moving it around, right? So you can sometimes just feel it. And honestly, it's not a big deal. It really isn't. And when you're in a game, I did not notice it at all. I am being really finicky here. And whilst we're talking about the sticks, we might as well test them, right? So I'm in this controller tester just here. We've got a couple of different modes we can do with this. So by default, there is a minor dead zone put on the inner sort of section of the stick, right? To stop the center point being misaligned. So that comes with a tiny bit of dead zone. But honestly, like you move them, and they start actuating straight away, like really, really good. But you can disable that by pressing the function button and then the stick of your choice in. And if I just show you now, the left one has that dead zone, so it's locked at 0.402, whereas the right one, do you see how it's kind of like all over the place, jittering just a little bit, right? So if I move that and then let go, it can't really find a dead spot because there's no dead zone. It's just slightly wavering from the center point. And that's because it is hypersensitive. I've disabled dead zone, right? And if I put that back on, it's now back to 0.2. But if I re-enable it again, the center point is still in the center. However, with my left stick, it's just slightly off. So just off center. However, I've been playing loads of Call of Duty with this controller and there's no drift. Even on that one where the center point's just slightly out, if I let go, and on the left stick, that's where you're walking with and stuff, it doesn't register as an actual input. I still have to move the stick, but it definitely feels nice. So when you've got no dead zone at all and you move, every input is immediately responding. So it's a benefit, even though that center point is just off and you can't calibrate it. I've tried using their calibration tools and it just doesn't like recenter. But honestly, it's not that big of a deal. And of course, if it was a big deal, well, then you just have to turn it off. But there is no way of disabling the outer dead zone. So there's not a true raw mode here. It's just the inner dead zone that you can adjust. So if I go to test circularity, right, one of the right stick, I've got in no dead zone mode. The left stick, I've got in like dead zone mode, if you want to call it that. And if I do this, they're both 2.8% error rate. And again, this error rate means nothing if you don't know about it. It's just whether it's a perfect circle or not. Joysticks in raw mode, actually, the way joysticks input is more like a square. It's not a circle. So these circles are like artificially put on, and it's more of a modern thing. Older titles require the extra reach in the corners like a square, right? Which is why they have raw mode. But this has got like a little bit of both. So if I hold this up really close, do you see that there's like overshooting in the corners? And that's done by design. That's why it's got that 2.8 sort of % error rate just there, so that you can still go slightly over in the diagonals. And that is definitely a win. Like that is definitely a win, because then that still gives you that extra bit of accuracy, that extra bit of movement that you can use whilst using the sticks. And it just feels great. So pair that with the no dead zone mode in an FPS game, which is this is like aimed at, it's been perfect for me. And of course, they're TMR sticks, which are basically like the next level of Hall effect sticks, but they are way quicker at actuating. There's a lot less power drain, so that your battery will last longer. They don't pull as much power to actually work, right? And they're still Hall effect, so you still won't get drift, or you're much less likely to get drift from using them. And yeah, really, really good. I've actually got TMR joysticks in my Ally X now. I've got videos coming soon of that, so stick around and subscribe. Now let's check that polling rate, because their big thing is 2000 hertz polling rate. And we all know, or if you don't know, the higher the number, the better. Essentially, and correct me if I'm wrong, you know, as you like to do down in the comments, but essentially it's like how fast, how many packets are being sent between the controller and the receiver, the computer, right? And so when you press, if it's a real high number, it's basically like 2000 times a second sending data to the device. Whereas if you've got it on like an old school Bluetooth controller that's only 125 hertz, it's only sending 125 packets every second, whereas this is doing 2000. So 2000 hertz is big. Like that is quick, right? So I was like, well, let's test it out. Are they lying? Are they not? Because some controllers only have a high polling rate when plugged in via the wire mode. So like, you know, that's why a lot of competitive gamers and stuff like have wired controllers. This, no. So this says that you can have 2000 hertz over the dongle. So let's test it. So I'm gonna use my app just here, and boom, look at this. Polling rate max, 2000, average 1960.78, with a stability of 98.04. Now I think that's pretty darn good. Like that is pretty good. And I've tested that on both sticks multiple times, and it always pops out the same result. And that is an absolute result. 2000 hertz, it's true. They are not lying. Like, and it does feel good. The first match of Call of Duty, I'm generally like, I need a couple of matches to get in, right? Like, and start feeling the vibe. I don't play it every single night, play it like once a week maybe. And, you know, I was just like, you know, let's get in and give it a go. Straight away, first match, I was like 27 kills. I can't remember the deaths. It was like 15 deaths or something like that. And I was like, sweet. Like normally I'd need like a few games to get there. With this, I was just like immediate and it felt so good. Like it really did feel good. The micro switches on this, amazing. You've got the freaking TMR joysticks with those no dead zone mode, 2000 hertz polling rate, digital switches, you've got the back paddles and everything. It was absolutely amazing. I just had a blast with this controller. And to be honest, I think I'm just going to be using this for FPS games now going forward. So yes, there's a few more things we can do with this, but honestly, I think I'm going to skip it this time. If you're a regular on the channel, you know what turbo is, you know what macro is, you know what button swap is. The only thing is this is aimed at like eSports like players. But this would be banned in esports because of those extra features, right? So you're not allowed to use turbo, you're not allowed to use macros in an esports situation, right? It's just got to be bog standard controller. Otherwise, you've got an advantage over other players by having the controller's like processor doing inputs for you. You can't do that. But, you know, if you're just a casual guy playing the game and maybe you don't even like want to use those things, then wicked. I mean, it's almost to the point they could re-release this controller without this strip on it. So it was actually esports compatible. And I reckon people would buy it, you know, because then it would be able to be used as an esports grade controller. Now comes on to the price. So on Amazon, whoever's selling it on Amazon is like £80 here in the UK. And I thought, honestly, I was like, to be fair, that's not bad. Like, that's not bad. It's a high-end controller. It's a high price. But then I went on the BigBigWon website, £65 for the TMR version, £61 for the potentiometer version, with free shipping over £50. So you're going to get free shipping and it's like £65. That's quite a big discount. That's £15 less than Amazon one. That's a big discount. And I can truly and safely say at £65, I absolutely would buy this controller. Absolutely 100%. If you're a die-hard COD guy or like any FPS guy and you like playing with controller on PC or whatever, right? And maybe you like the 6-finger grip, you know, or maybe you just like normal playing like me and you just want some solid performance out of this, £65, this is a win. Like, it's a big win, not a big one. That's what happens when you've bought it, you've won. But before you buy it, it's a big win. I don't know what I'm talking about. But anyway, I really like this controller. As you can probably tell, I've been very excited by testing this controller and it's just been surprising me at every turn. I was expecting the polling rate to be less. I thought it was going to be like 1000 hertz over dongle or something. Nope, it's 2000 hertz. It's super stable. I really like it. There's only a couple of things I kind of dislike, and that is, for some people, the rubber grips might not be good. I can't tell you the longevity of them. The other thing is digital only switches, but I can't say that's a negative because this is an FPS controller. The thing that's kind of a negative for me is those kind of loose metal anti-friction stems. But again, you really don't even notice it. You get used to it very quickly. You know, it's a very minor gripe I've got here. And the other thing is those two are kind of hard to get to, like if you're using a specific grip style. But really, that's it. I've got to be picky, and there's really nothing wrong with this controller at all. I really like it, and I really like the stylings and the shape. It's a big win. I highly recommend this controller, like big time. This is like, if you're into FPS games, get this. I'm gonna keep using this for ages because I really like it. But there we have it. That is the BigBigWon Blitz2 Pro, and yeah, I love it. This is the TMR version. Highly recommend the TMR version. It's like £4 more. Don't know what that is in dollars, probably $5-6 more, and I definitely recommend that unless you've got specific reasons and know why you want potentiometer sticks instead. But then get that one, it's cheaper. But anyway, love it, absolutely love it. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Whilst you're down there, like this video, subscribe, become a member, and sometimes you can see these videos early and you get to talk to me and AJ over on our private Discord. And talking of AJ, check out our podcast and his news videos here on this channel as well. I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.